My friends, we start with a potpourri, a melange, a poo-poo platter of outrages. This is Howard Riell. The show is Riell Truth. Welcome to a brand new week. Buckle up. Item from the Daily Wire. Male to female transgender powerlifter Mary Gregory has been stripped of several women's championship titles after the Powerlifting Federation determined Gregory was not eligible to compete as a female. Unquote. My friends, what kind of idiots would have thought that, yes, Mary Gregory could compete against women? Mary Gregory is a man. I don't know what his name is. He calls himself Mary. Obviously, men and women cannot compete together. There are liberal loonies out there who think they should be able to. They're completely out of touch with reality. And by the way, you know, I was around in the 70s when women's tennis was getting big. Rosemary Casals, Billie Jean King, Chris Evert, you name it. And they used to mouth off about not getting parity in their pay. They weren't getting paid as much as men. Well, in every sport, the level of competition among women is lower, is inferior to the level of competition among men. That's why they get paid less. Good morning. And this nonsense with the transgender athletes, this just makes it all the more clear. I hope we can put that to bed. I hope we can put Mary Gregory to bed too, hopefully in another building. Item from conservativereview.com. What happens when our government takes down its interior checkpoints north of the border in New Mexico? Well, the cartels with the drug and human smuggling are, quote, kicking our butts, according to one local official. In an interview with CR, Coy Griffin, the chairman of the Otero County, New Mexico County Commission, explained, quote, the cartel is winning and winning big. They are kicking our butts. Let's see, we get so tied up and focused on the asylum seekers or the illegal immigrant aspect of what's going on at our southern border. But the reality of it is that it's nothing but a mere smokescreen for the cartel. They're using these large groups of migrants as nothing more than a smokescreen to smuggle their drugs across the southern border. Meanwhile, as soon as those agents are exhausted, those critical spots, they're sending boatloads of drugs across the border in unsecured areas. The shutting down of the checkpoints on the major drug smuggling corridors is a recipe for disaster. Now they have a green light to shuttle drugs through our country and through our rural areas with no security in place. Unquote. My friends, first of all, the drug cartels have accomplices here in the United States. They are Democrat politicians who are doing everything in their power to prevent a wall from being built, because once a wall is built, the cartels won't be able to get their drugs into this country. So the Democrats are helping these gangs and cartels in Mexico inject drugs into your kids' arms. They're trying to help, the Democrats are trying to help the cartels get various and sundry drugs up your kid's nose, so that your kid has a brain aneurysm because he's strung out, or he's found lying in the street somewhere, or he's got to begin stealing because he needs money for drugs. Your child. Thank the Democrats for that. As long as we're on the subject, it appears that the folks down at the border are unable to prevent these things from happening as is planned. I mentioned the Democrats are accomplices with the drug runners. They're the ones who put all these laws in place about asylum, about booking people, about getting accommodations for them, that tie the hands of border enforcement agents and allow the drugs to come through. This is intentional. Again, thank the Democrats. Last thing about this. I have to believe that in the absence of a wall, we should have a wall. In the absence of a wall, the best security we have against people coming across the border illegally would be bullets. I don't hear anyone, not even our president, talking about that option. Have a couple of guards with machine guns. When they spot the drug runners, they kill them. Can life get simpler? And then your child need not overdose and die. You don't like that policy? In other words, you would rather have a live drug runner and a dead child than the other way around. Good luck to you. Item from CBSNews.com. 4 in 10 Americans sometimes face what economists call material hardship, struggling to pay for basic needs such as food and housing, according to a new study from the Urban Institute. Even middle-class families routinely struggle financially and are occasionally unable to pay their bills. For many Americans, incomes haven't kept up with the rising cost of necessities such as housing and healthcare, resulting in financial anxiety. About 39% of Americans ages 18 to 65 experienced at least one type of material hardship last year, statistically unchanged from the 39.3% who suffered hardship in 2019, the nonpartisan think tank found. Unquote. My friends, when you are sailing a giant supertanker, an oil supertanker across the ocean, and you want to stop, you want to stop on a dime, well, you better have allotted yourself 6 miles, because 6 miles is a dime when it comes to supertankers. It takes that long once you step on the brake for the ship to come to a halt. 6 miles. So here we are, over 2 years into the Trump presidency, and Americans are still suffering from the economic woes created by 8 years of the Democrats and Barack Obama and his vice president, Joe Biden. Even though Trump is doing just about everything right, you can't make a supertanker stop on a dime. He's reversing slowly, as quickly as he can, but it's slow, reversing the damage done by the Democrats. But it takes time. And Americans are still suffering, thanks to the Democrats. Item from the Telegraph in London. Men in Iran have been ordered not to look at women during Ramadan as part of a round of draconian restrictions imposed by the increasingly isolated regime. In a sign of frustration with growing civil discontent and economic pain caused by U.S. sanctions, hardliners in Iran's government are forcing through unusually strict social dictates to bring people into line. The country's judiciary has announced that those eating in public during the fasting period are also in breach of laws and will be prosecuted. So the Muslim authorities don't want people to be able to openly break the laws of Ramadan. So if they're ordering their men not to look at women, does that sound to you like a healthy society? They're threatening the world with nuclear destruction. Does that sound like a healthy society? Or does it sound like a society we need to make go away? You know where I stand on it. It's Monday. Riell Truth. Got some great stuff for you. We'll be right back.
Before hiring a realtor from a big corporation who outsources their job and pays little to no tax, ask yourself, what really wants a realtor? You need a realtor who's honest and has integrity. A realtor is focused on the client's bottom line, not the realtor's bottom line. Who provides personal, over-the-top service before, during, and after the transaction. You want a realtor that knows how to market your property. Hi, I'm James Morgan, a realtor with Grisham & Associates, LLC. I am your Colorado real estate specialist. Land deals, mountain cabins, or urban dwellings, I've got you covered. For the first-time home buyer, we will make it the best experience. If you are looking to move up or downsizing, we will do better than your last transaction. Call me today at 720-203-0731 or visit coloradoproperties.com. KH's the heart of North Dakota.
And welcome back, Howard Riell Truth. Welcome to a brand new week. I hope you enjoyed your weekend reading Riell Truth Stay Angry. What's that? You haven't? Come on, you haven't gotten your copy yet? Really? Well, you're in luck. You can go to virtualbookworm.com, pick up a copy, Riell Truth Stay Angry, read it, love it, put it on the pillow next to you tonight when you sleep. It's a fantastic thing to have, honestly. We are at war. I don't mean to shock you with that pronouncement, but we're at war. We're in a trade war with China. We have been for decades, and we've been, very frankly, getting our asses kicked because no politician president we've had has had the cojones to fight aggressively. Well, now we have a president with cojones, and he is fighting viciously with China, toughest opponent in the world right now. And, of course, as predictable, very predictable, there are Americans who are already whining and complaining that it's costing us and the prices of some products are going up, blah, 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 blah. There are always weaklings and fools everywhere to tell you the great thing you're trying to accomplish isn't worth it. In this case, it is. Here is Fox Business Channel. We've got Newt Gingrich talking about the fact that China's economy cannot take the battering that Donald Trump is administering to it. Here he is with Maria Bartiromo. My friends, 100 years ago, I used to study martial arts back in Brooklyn. Okay? I was only 17 years old. 200 years ago, let's be honest. And I remember I was training once with a guy named Bob Levy. He was a black belt. And we were talking about defending against somebody with a knife. And you know, I had grown up just as you had, watching movies where the hero just kicks the knife out of someone's hand and then beats him up and walks away smiling. And Bob Levy said, no. He said, if you're going to be in a fight with somebody with a knife, you're going to get cut. Hopefully, you won't get stabbed and have to go to a hospital, but you're definitely going to bleed. There's no way you're not going to get cut. We're in a war with the most populous nation on earth. We're going to get cut. It's going to hurt. They're going to draw blood. There's going to be a price for us to pay. But the price would be a hell of a lot bigger if we don't fight this fight. If we simply let them steal from us and dominate us, it's going to be a crippling thing. As we've been crippled these many years. Donald Trump is the first one who's got the guts to roll up his sleeves and start throwing punches. It's a great thing, not a bad thing. It's a saving thing.
Look, I think the market is responding.
Yes, it is unprecedented because we've had mealy-mouthed fools in the White House who don't know their backsides from a hole in the ground and besides didn't have the backbone to stand up to China. So thank God for Trump.
To have these negotiations play out.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Thank you, Newt. Back to the supertanker. You slam on the brakes, it doesn't stop for 6 miles. Donald Trump is trying to undo now decades of lay down and show your belly politics and negotiations by American politicians. He's trying to undo decades of damage. And he has drawn a line in the sand, and he is defending that line. And China doesn't like it. I wouldn't expect that they would. And we're going to butt heads, and we are butting heads, and it's a perfectly good thing. Because whatever emerges from this contest between us and them, we will be better off than we were. When a bully is stealing your lunch money every day, you've got to confront him. Yeah, you're going to get punched. You're going to get knocked down. No question about it. You're going to get scuffled up. But he's not going to come for your lunch money anymore. And that's what Trump is doing. He's facing up to the bully on behalf of all of us.
If it takes economic growth.
By the way, what if the FISA judges, they accepted this report from Christopher Steele and Hillary and the DNC, accepted the report even though it was bogus, it had not been vetted, no one knew if it was true or not, but despite that, they still gave the okay to do surveillance based on garbage. What if the judges went to jail? They certainly didn't do their jobs properly. They certainly were in bed with the Democrats. I'd love to see a judge or two or three behind bars because they deserve it. They're playing games with the law. In the old days when people attempted a coup d'etat and failed, they were executed. Item from Breitbart. Facebook has shut down 23 major populist Italian pages with 2.5 million followers just 2 weeks before the European elections. According to Italian media, the majority of the pages supported the populist parties La Lega, which means the League, and the Five Star Movement, who currently govern Italy in a temporary coalition. Unquote. My friends, Facebook is getting too damn powerful. When they can shut down one side of a political debate in a country and thereby skew the election results, they're not just a company anymore. Now they are a pseudo-governmental agency. They are Big Brother, and it's not good. Item from InfoWars. Cookie brand Chips Ahoy promoted, quote, drag moms and drag queens in a Mother's Day advertisement on Sunday. The bizarre ad features a drag queen named Vanessa Vanjie Mateo calling for everybody to thank their mothers and, quote, get these cookies. A drag queen selling Chips Ahoy cookies. Yeah, you heard right.
If so, may have open a fire in the ass. these all-star prosecutors are gold there. Before the political power that none of them has the back today, the political fire does not get better power. They are all part of the group and all well. Political fire there are the permanent mitigation of the fire and all the important question now. Political fire there. Now, 4706. Mr. Westlaw and Angel White, there's not don't walk away from the online. The fire. Let them help. Real estate is their business. They are afraid of the benefit. All of today. 12, 4, 6, or Mr. Westlaw, Angel White. They're all pretty hard to find. For you, at least a pretty three. Offering our
Welcome back, Howard Riell Truth on this Monday, May 13th. Folks, what kinds of things give you a calm feeling? I guess soft music, right? Maybe a spring evening with a soft breeze blowing, the sun setting on the horizon, the Holocaust. Yes, the Holocaust, according to Rashida Tlaib, one of the two anti-Semitic Muslim congresswomen. She did an interview last week, and she said when she thinks of the Holocaust, she gets a calming feeling. Well, folks, I'd like to give Rashida Tlaib a calming feeling, but I don't feel like going to jail, so I won't. Here is, let's see, Glenn Beck talking about Rashida Tlaib and her calm feeling. Go.
So, have you seen
My friends, you see now the insidiousness of the Muslim mind. Rashida Tlaib is an anti-Semite. She's a Palestinian. She talks about the dignity of the Palestinian people. I'm having a hard time with that. What dignity is that? Until Israel began educating Palestinians, they were ignorant shepherds, murder each other, fight with everybody. Why do you think the other Arab countries in the Middle East don't want to take the Palestinians in? Because they know what the Palestinians are. They're dirt. They're worse than dirt. The supposed dignity of the Palestinian people, who are murderers and terrorists and rapists and thieves and liars. That's the dignity of the Palestinian people. And so according to Rashida Tlaib, it was the Palestinians, the good, kind, noble, loving, gentle Palestinians, who were the real victims of the Holocaust. Not the 6 million Jews who were murdered, but it was the poor Palestinians and their dignity. Folks, this is the Alice in Wonderland version of reality. This is the bass-ackwards version of reality. And it's what haters do all the time because it's the only way they can live with themselves.
She said all of it was in the name of trying to create a safe haven.
Wanted to build little mini Auschwitzes, correct. Hussein wanted to bring the Holocaust to the Middle East. Is Rashida Tlaib proud of that too? that her people were the toadies, the lackeys, the bootlickers of the Nazis in World War II? Folks, I expect nothing better than this from Rashida Tlaib or any Palestinian. Fool that I am, I expect better from the voters who put this piece of snot in office. She is a disgrace to the United States Congress. So is Ilhan Omar. They need to be voted out of office quickly. And America needs to take a lesson. These are always Democrats. The haters, the racists, always liberals, always Democrats. And the Nazis and the supporters of terrorists, always on the left. So folks, get the hell off the left for your sake and your family's sake and for the United States of America's sake. Let's have a commercial, and then we'll come back. More Real Truth ahead. All right, guys, we're back. Very important episode of Levin, Life, Liberty, and Levin this weekend on Fox. Mark Levin. He had Sally Pipes on his show. Now, one of the things you hear an awful lot of these days is single-payer health care. Well, the first thing Mark Levin did was ask Sally, who's an expert in healthcare. She's originally from Canada, but she's an expert in healthcare, what exactly single-payer healthcare is, and she defined it, and then she told you why it's a terrible idea. Let's listen.
Budgets. So I want to start beginning with all the other things going on.
Folks, if you want to see something go to crap, put the government in charge of it. Putting the government in charge of health care would be the worst decision this country has ever made. And it's what the Democrats want to do very badly.
I think
Absolutely vital to understand that. If the day ever comes, and I hope it does not, if the day ever comes we say from now on, everybody gets health care for free because the government provides it, well, you know what? You're going to be using that health care a hell of a lot more than you ever did before because after all, it's free, right? Wrong. It's not free. You're going to be paying for it elsewhere, mostly in taxes. And your health is going to suffer. So everyone in America is going to surge forward into a doctor's office. And if you have a medical problem, God forbid, you're going to wait a week or 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 11 weeks. She's going to mention later on in this interview in England, 19 weeks to see a specialist. 5. Let's go back.
they will have to go and undergo.
And by the way, if their income is capped, these medical students, their income is capped, they're going to be making 40% less than doctors make now, almost cut in half. Why should they incur medical school student loans of $150,000, $200,000, $250,000? It's going to take them their entire career to pay that off. And so we're going to have fewer doctors and not as good doctors.
So you're going to have
Free this, free that, free this, free that. That's how the Democrats try and buy votes. They don't do it with good ideas because they have none. So they give away free stuff. They basically bribe voters to vote for them. Now, if those are the people to whom you want to hand the keys of power, well, I'm going to do everything in my power to stop you. Because the Democrats have no good ideas, no good policies. They want to take this country in the wrong direction in a dozen or 24 different ways. And buying votes with free this and free that is no way to run the most powerful, the richest country in the history of the world. And I hope that America has learned that lesson. I'm not sure we have, looking at the last round of elections we had several months ago. But we'd better learn it, and fast. Let's take a break and we'll come back and finish up here on Riell Truth. All right, guys, I think I hear the music. I think we're back. Let's finish up. Item from newswars.com. Senator Rand Paul, Republican Kentucky, went after former Vice President Joe Biden over his reported role in pressuring Ukraine's leaders in 2016 to oust a prosecutor for corruption, while his son Hunter worked for a company that was poised to benefit from the move. I think the American people will be shocked and dismayed to know that Joe Biden's son was making $50,000 a month just a couple of months after he was dishonorably discharged from the military for drugs, Rand Paul said on CBS Sunday. $50,000 a month. I think most Americans will be dismayed that the president's son was doing this while Joe Biden was the vice president's son, while Biden was actually lobbying to have this company, go free of prosecution. Unquote. My friends, now that Joe Biden has thrown his hat in the ring, all the dirt, all the filth is going to come out about him, and he will saunter away from the fray. He's already slurring his words. There's a video you can find on YouTube where he's giving several talks in several different places, and he's slurring his words. He's too old. Not that he was never that bright to begin with, but now he certainly is not up to the task of running, let alone acting as president. Related item from InfoWars. In 2006, former Vice President Joe Biden told the South Carolina Rotary Club audience that he proudly voted for the Secure Fence Act, authorizing the construction of 700 miles of fencing at the southern U.S. border. He also called for a crackdown on companies that hire illegals, saying, quote, I voted for a fence. I voted, unlike most Democrats, and some of you won't like it, I voted for 700 miles of fence. But let me tell you, we can build a fence 40 stories high unless you change the dynamic in Mexico, and you will not like this, and punish American employers who knowingly violate the law when in fact they hire illegals. Unless you do those two things, all the rest is window dressing, unquote. Folks, I am not sanguine about agreeing with anything that Joe Biden has said, but here he's echoing my words. You have got to place a fine on employers who hire illegals, a fine that will make their ears bleed. Hire one illegal, you pay a fine of $500,000. That alone will drive most businesses, certainly most small businesses, out of business. It would be suicide for them to do so, and then they won't do so. Item from InfoWars. The FBI has discovered an Islamic terror training camp outside of Tuskegee, Alabama, according to reports. A piece of property in Macon County has been described by an FBI search warrant as a makeshift military-style obstacle course belonging to a radical Islamist group led by Shiraz Wahaj, the same individual who was arrested in 2018 for running a terror training compound in New Mexico. Just because you're in a small town or a small state doesn't mean you might not potentially have individuals engaged in the types of activities that would call into question threats to national security, said Tim Furman, former FBI special agent of the Mobile, Alabama field office. Unquote. My friends, where you have Muslims, you will have this. Item from the Daily Caller. New York Democrat Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, quote, "You'd have to have the social intelligence of a sea sponge to take her literally when she invoked a 12-year deadline to stop world-ending global warming." My friends, when it comes to having the intelligence of a sea sponge, I will not argue with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She knows a hell of a lot better than I do. Item from the Daily Caller. Nearly half of American voters say they would vote for a socialist candidate, a Gallup poll revealed. Guys, an awful lot of ignorant Americans out there, and that's why I'm here doing my share. I'll see you tomorrow. Hasta luego.